What can I do for you?
No. Are you hosting in BDREN or are you hosting in outside BDREN?
No, in Bidiren.
Okay. Because I noticed that you use the domain name something like .asia, right?
Yes, but it is hosted in Bidiren.
.asia is a root, like anybody can buy one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Why? I mean, what is the reason to use .asia?
It's for everyone.
This is done for Asian community.
Okay. Not because you want to use, because you want to have it as a public service to other people, not in the NRENs or?
All the NRENs, definitely. All the NRENs in Asia Pacific zone.
No, not for public, not for public.
Not for public.
Okay.
So the question I think, Taurit, is why it is not AC, why it is like common Asia, which just sounds like it's for everybody, not for the NREN people.
Is it so? APA.
Yeah, it's okay. I think that's okay. That's okay. I think it's good. Publicity. So yeah, connecting it to our federation, right? We cannot use educate.
Yes, it is already tested. Even people without federation, they can be part of this application by registering their institute through their NRENs, and the process is automatized.
And
Once we give an admin, once we give an admin access to the NREN, and once NREN gives the admin access to any institution, the user can get approval from the institutional administrator. So it's hierarchy based. So we trust the admin of the NREN, then NREN admin trusts the institutional admin, and institutional admin trusts the user.
And
It's
also,
These are people.
not my concept, it's Brooks' concept. IDP of last resort. So it's a merging of the federated authentication with non-federated user.
how big is the server for the service? Because I think your staff mentioned that for each files we can send up to 100 gigabytes, right?
Yes,
So
100 gigabyte is the maximum size at this moment.
So
that is
the question was the resource, how much resource you have, and the bandwidth.
files. And we have allocated 50 terabyte at this moment.
Okay.
Not bad.
So if the user, they don't delete or remove their files, they just put it there for a long time, keep it there.
7 days, that will be there for 7 days.
Okay, automatically remove.
Yeah,
Okay.
it will be automatically removed.
And one more question, do you think that you would like to encourage other NRENs to have similar service in their NREN, or just centralized usage from BDREN? Because the bandwidth issue is the one thing. I don't know.
No, the proposal is for all the for the region to use it. That is how the proposal. Actually, this proposal, this project came through Asia Connect, one of the sub-branded project. So the Asia Connect idea was to use by many as possible. I don't know whether how it can support it, but that was the idea. But some countries, I think they have their own. Like I'm sure Australia, New Zealand, they all have set up their own. But we can use, I think, that is the idea, right? It's not just for the BDREN community.
Yes, for them it is a charged service. So if it is provided, for our case, it is not charged. So if it is provided free of cost, maybe they will be allured to use this service. So at this moment, we don't know how busy this server will be, but for the bandwidth part, we are thinking to use only the 10 bandwidth. Okay, we will route this IP, only broadcast this IP through the 10 network.
Yeah.
So only the utilization of 10 bandwidth will increase. So
Yeah.
that is our goal.
That is a good idea, actually. Very good idea.
To utilize the bandwidth of the 10 network.
Yes, because SEMA is pushing me to upgrade the bandwidth to 10G, but I cannot use even 1G. So if I can show some uses, then I can upgrade it to 10G.
Okay. I see. Okay, thank you.
Audit, you said it's paid for the non-beneficiaries per se, right? Is that what you meant? Paid for who? Paid service for non-beneficiaries, right?
Suppose for Australian Federation,
Mhm.
they are providing file sender services to the
It's a
institute.
paid service. Okay, that's what you
That's a
meant.
paid service.
Okay.
In our
It is
case,
free.
we are providing it free of cost.
So it's free for anybody in the federation, like anybody under education or what all the federations, right? So they can. Or do we limit for Asia?
Not all the federations, we have allowed all the NRENs.
Yeah, all the NRENs, yeah. So NRENs, yeah. So if NRENs have federation, then fine. If not, also fine.
Yes,
So anybody, right? So internet too can use it.
not internet too, in the
Okay.
Asia Pacific zone,
That is what I asked. Yeah, it's only Asia. Yeah.
Asia Pacific, yeah. But I don't know, it will depend on the policy that will be made by
APAN.
or Asia Connect project, not APAN.
No, the 10 can make like it.
APAN is the vendor.
But then it is not like a requested service by 10. It is a proposed service by APAN. It's like any other project that you are doing, Zoom project and other projects. Not like a requested service from 10.
Yes, but who is the owner of the application?
It's a grant, so the one who got the grant.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Because
10 won't take the ownership. No, that's not in the plan. I mean, I'm also representing 10. You know.
no, Asia Connect will take the ownership.
No, we haven't taken ownership of any other projects, similar projects. Where did we take? None. We can't.
10 is dictating the terms.
Terms fine, but the ownership we can't take. Who is going to look after? The who got the grant has to look after. So at least you have a sustainable plan for a short term, I think. Long term, we had to think about it. Yes. For how long you have sustainability now? I mean, how long you can support? We didn't. 5 years.
5
Yeah. Yeah. After 5 years, I think APAN has to come up with some plan.
Or here.
10 after 5 years, yeah, I don't know. 10 will, what they can do.
Then I had a misconception. Thank you.
So it is like any other grant, or it's like you got a grant and it's your responsibility. It's money for you. Like you do whatever the sustainability you had to do.
So APAN is the owner.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Asita, sorry for
That's okay.
intervening.
We are still waiting for people to come after lunch.
Then we can talk.
Yeah, having good lunch, it seems. Very good lunch.
Yeah.
You can save your energy.
Right. Okay. Anyway, I think we'll start. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the session on bird of a feather on HPC AI or BOF on HPC AI. Let's look at the agenda. It's so we'll have the welcome and introduction, and then I'll introduce because this BOF was started in the last APAN meeting in Thailand, APAN57. So I'll again introduce what this bird of feathers is about. And then we have a guest speaker today, Mr. Jahan Saib Nazar, and which his speech will be followed by a Q&A session. And then depending on the time remaining, we'll have a introductory discussion on the way forward with HPC and AI for APAN and the region. Right. So the introduction about the bird of feathers on HPC AI. APAN call for proposals on setting up a BOF on HPC AI in view of setting up a working group later, and we learn submitted a proposal which was accepted. And this was actually initially planned for APAN58 to be established in here. But we requested, depending on the importance and the timeliness of the topic, we requested APAN to have it at APAN 57, and they kindly agreed to that proposal. So we established this BOF in APAN 57 in Thailand. So looking at why we wanted to set up this bird of feathers on HPC AI. We understand the opportunity, especially looking at from the NREN point of view and the academic and research network point of view. It allows us to tap into the wellspring of innovation that is happening. Basically, we want to foster collaboration between HPC and AI experts across the region, which will lead to groundbreaking research and development projects. Because even though HPC is a main requirement for AI, AI has evolved so far ahead without HPC facilities so far, and there seems to be a huge divide. So we wanted to bridge this divide and see how it can, because like AI is growing rapidly, but it's not working. It's not having the high performance capacity to carry out the task, whereas high performance computing is evolving it on its own. So we wanted to see how to bridge this and so on. So I think even from Mr. Nasar, I hope we can see how things are done in Pakistan and in this end. And also to promote digital equity, basically to provide this, to see how HPC and AI can be provided to especially these emerging NRENs and the members and the customers there. And by doing that, to become a global leader in the HPC AI era. Because at the moment, there's not much opportunity and not much work is done compared to the developed world where others are doing. So if you can promote that through this work that we are doing here and collaborating with everybody, all the researchers, academics across the region, hopefully we can become a global leader in the area. Right. So that's the idea. So the scope of the bird of feathers is the HPC AI bird of feathers or working group will encompass discussions and initiative related to the advancement and application of high performance computing and artificial intelligence within the APAN network. This includes but is not limited to research collaboration, technology sharing, capacity building, and the development of innovative solutions to common challenges. Right. So as I said earlier, we have the objectives as connect and inspire, develop a collaborative network, upskill the workforce, that is improve the workforce with different training programs and skills, bridge the HPC AI divide as I mentioned earlier, empower regional process once again as I mentioned to bring the entire region up, and drive innovation. By doing that, we hope that we can drive the next generation of innovation. So the targeted participants, we are looking participants from all over the spectrum, researchers and academics, other representatives from the APAN member countries who are interested in development and applications of HPC and AI. Technology enthusiasts, professionals who are seeking to contribute, industry partners providing HPC and AI solutions, and policymakers who are influencing policies in HPC and AI. Right. So as I said, this is just a start. We started 6 months ago. So this is another time that we can reflect on this and see the way forward. So we had a plan for the first year and then the first 3 years actually. So we established the BOF. We had a kickoff meeting last time, and then launching the communication channel. It has been established and sent out the mail. So we will try to recruit more as we go forward. we were planning to develop a white paper. I have made a outline as well, but we'll have to seek, what do you call, views of all member countries in developing that. So I'm hoping that we can get that done before we establish as a working group by APAN59. Host an HPC AI conference. So we are hosting the APAN58 conference on HPC AI, which is happening tomorrow. So it is initiated by BOF on HPC AI, and we have a separate committee to completely coordinate and handle the conference, and that is happening tomorrow at the within the APAN meeting. Right. So. Right. So we have other work that are planned for the second year. So I will not worry about it. But I just want to just touch upon a couple of things. One is this knowledge dissemination and skill development. So we are already working on a project to force skill development in generative AI, which we are in the finalizing stage, so we will announce it hopefully soon, and we are planning to incorporate those activities into the next two APAN meetings, APAN 59 and APAN 60 in 2025, along with the activities of this BOF. I mean, it will become a working group next time, so the working group will actually work on this, what do you call, capacity building program in generative AI going forward. Okay. So with that, let's move on to the guest speech. It's my great honor to invite Mr. Jahan Zaib Nazar, who's the CTO of AI and HPC in Formax IT Solutions, who will speak about evolution of high-performance computing in academic and research in Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Can we sit little here, because otherwise I have to take this glasses and wear the glasses where I can see far away. It will be more interactive. Initially, I've been told to give the presentation for free, 15-20 minutes, but I told them, I can talk the whole day. So you can speak or ask any question in the middle. Perfect. So starting, prior to going to the presentation, let me give a little background about myself and how I came up with this Formax IT solution. It's basically a startup based in Pakistan. I started my career as a Unix admin in DHL Birmingham. I worked for IBM in Saudi Arabia for their vertical, especially for the parallel computing and their Blue Gene products. And then I moved to HP, and I was used to handle Middle East, Turkey, and Africa for same product, parallel computing. And in fact, I have lots of deployment in Kapsar, KFUPM, KAUST, Abu Dhabi, New York University, Well Cornell, Qatar, Sidra Chemical, and of course Saudi Aramco. I've handled Saudi Aramco for around about 12 years for particularly parallel computing and HPC environment. And this is my background. I shifted back after 19 years. I started my own startup based in Islamabad, and we provide services only for HPC and AI deployment, which we is going pretty much well. And now we start engaging with the HEC, Higher Education Commission, Pakistan, for their upcoming project. So let's move on. Introduction. So there is a very big misconception about the parallel computing in the conventional environment that we used to have in our data center, which is we have typically DB servers and TV servers and everything. But parallel computing is a little bit opposite of what we used to have as a conventional mid-tier application. It works. The application write and execute the codes on parallel CPUs through a high-speed fabric, and then we get the output as a solver. And this is the fundamental distinction between any conventional environment and the high-performance clustering. So again, it's introduction for what our organization is providing, we provide complete ecosystem for HPC and AI environment. We starting from the benchmarking, we listen to the customer or organization, we listen to them, what are the application, there's a simulation, or they want to do number crunching application, then we do the benchmarking against them. We primarily use open source, we preferred open source, but until unless it's been requested by the customer that we want to go for something like ANSYS or Gaussian, then we do the licenses, otherwise we use the open source. And then we do deployment, we do the benchmarking and the training and hand over to the customer with the knowledge transfer. So these are the some of services that you can see. We do the AI application deployment as in the parallel computing, and design the cluster, deployment and training. So starting from the history, when I started my career, so before, let's say I started my career in 2000 with the Unix side, if we take a let's say 20 years back, all the HPC deployment was primarily fixed on certain application like seismic study or atmospheric research, and the what you call it, the MATLAB number crunching application. And primarily the OS that we used to use was the Unix based. Even when the IBM Blue Gene was discontinued, the last OS they were using is the native AIX, which is the Unix platform from IBM. Now I have seen myself evaluate evolution of this HPC into more robust and more granular in terms of, like, you can support now all the AI machine loads. I'm going to vouch Mr. Sorry, I don't know the name of the gentleman from the Learn. He's saying that there was a line between the artificial intelligence and conventional HPC, but the thin line has been dissolved now. Now all the not just the conventional application, but even artificial intelligence, LLM deployments are done by backend used for the large GPU-based clusters. Academic research, I mean, so primarily if you take a look at the top 500 ORG, most of the deployment is done by academia. Some of the deployment has been done by oil and gas companies or some product prototyping, but mostly all the HPC has been done in research, so they can the organizations can get the product which was developed in academia. If I have to take an example, mostly the current environment has been used from the HPC side. If you take a look at the parallel file system, it was originated from as a university project. We goes to the Slum, which is a famous workload manager. It was also academia project, which was later on very widely adopted by HPC users. So Fusion, as I said, if you ask me 10, 20 years ago, there was a very thin line between a high performance clustering environment and artificial intelligence. But those line has been dissolved now. If you especially after the ChatGPT revolution, if you take a look at the architecture that had been used behind the ChatGPT is a large GPU-based cluster connected to a very high-speed fabric. So especially the adoption in the HPC for the AI machine learning has been inevitable now. I mean, it's going to be fundamental element for any even AI application or development, product development. HPC will grow and grow further. And now, since initially that we used to have a conventional workload management, now the MLOps, which has its own complete ecosystem for AI machine learning, has been deployed equally good as the conventional Slum or Torque or any other licensed one. Now HPC has been used not just as a conventional one, but as a MLOps building block for any large language model, or even you can run the YOLO as a parallel processing. You can run the FaceNet, RESTNet, all the open source framework for the AI machine learning on the HPC environment. Secondly, now if you look at the the more innovation has been done in terms of medical imaging, synthetic data usage. It's all behind, if you look at it, behind running on a large GPU-based clusters. And there's a lot of adoption in terms of fraud management, genomics, drug discovery. All these were after the chat GPT revolution, when the NVIDIA kicks in, this whole ecosystem is shifted from the conventional environment to a GPU-based cluster. Now, if I give you one example, I had a requirement from a customer based in UAE. They want to develop a digital twin. So digital twin will be very uprising technology. Well, you have a DNA-based human digital twin, and they will do all the experiment of which drug will react on this human with this DNA. It will run through as a simulation, not as a physical one. So all this done is being used by a large GPU-based cluster now. And of course, the simulation is like NVIDIA has a very big upcoming product called Earth-2, basically Earth's digital twin, which they will be simulating the atmospheric research, and it will go to the street level by visualizing it. If the flood comes in or earthquake comes in, how it will look like and how it will devastate. Last year, I mean, I have to give a very good initiative from the HEC, Higher Education Commission. It took an initiative to develop something that we've been wanting. I mean, at least I was really eager to know that how Pakistan is pivoting and trying to adopt the high performance clustering in this era. So last year, Higher Education took an initiative, and they plan to deploy one of the biggest HPC cluster in Pakistan. It's under the acquisition process now. So once it will be arrived, it will be available to not just local academia, but the international academia as well through PERN network. And they will be utilizing it for the advanced research, either regards to across, if let's say one university based in Karakoram or near the K2, he can have the access to the large pool of resources, or regardless if it's based in Islamabad or in somewhere near the village of Indian border, it doesn't matter. As long as they're connected through PERN, they will access this huge facility. I'm going to talk about the infrastructure they plan to buy, or it's under acquisition. So currently there are 24 nodes, around about 1,344 cores will be available for them. There are around about 8 GPU per 8 GPU nodes, and the total 32 H100, which is the most advanced right now. We're around about total 2.5 TB of aggregated memory for the GPU, and then you have more than 500,000 CUDA cores will be available for you. And all this will be connected through a very tight fabric running on the 400 gig InfiniBand and 25 gig connectivity for the storage connectivity. And there will be a separate management LAN and round about 1.5 petabyte of usable capacity for the high-speed NAS filer. This benchmark that I have mentioned is basically, some of the part is theoretical, some of the part is Rmax, Rpeak, but it depends what sort of a benchmark we will do that at the time of deployment. It depends, but what we assume and what we did was it will be around about 1.2 to 1.8 petaflop. This will be a huge facility. It will be a very big building block for Pakistan as well, that we will be the part of consortium, especially connected with the APAN, and all these resources will be available for them through APAN network. Now, the software stack that we're planning to deploy, having said that, I personally preferred open source unless it's not been advised or forced by end user or some other requirement. Mostly we have been used as a job scheduler, cluster management, file system, all open source. Cluster performance monitoring, we use Prometheus Grafana. For open source, we use Slurm. For cluster manager, we're using Confluent, which is again open source. And on the top, we will be having an application which will adopted by all academia across Pakistan, not just Pakistan, but in fact all over the world, like Open MP, Intel MP. We will have a CUDA lab as well, MLOps complete framework. We'll have MATLAB toolkit, and then on the top, computational fluid dynamics, computational fluid mechanics, and Gaussian for especially for the chemical side, and genomics as well. So all will be using open source, and some of the part will be licensed. But these licenses and software ecosystem will be available to all the universities based in Pakistan. If one of the research who's sitting in Sakhar or in Sindh near Farabhai, he wants to do a simulation, let's say, he wants to do a prototyping, those services will be available through PAN network, PERN network. They will be available for them, and they can utilize it. And I think it's primarily for academia. It will be free, or I'm not quite sure, but it will be available for them, right? So why they came up with this idea? Technically, this should be, if anybody aware with the Euro HPC networks, where in the Europe they have around about 8 to 12 deployments, comes under the umbrella of consortium called Euro HPC. They have deployment of in Finland. They have recently deployed in Turkey. So where all the research has been done, primarily one is doing on Ebola research, and one is doing in COVID days. I remember that KAUST was doing some part of the research as well, along with the WHO. HEC got the mandate. They have the mandate to put and make some sort of a center of excellence across all the industries, across all academia and research, and all these research which will be done, it will be saved and available for the all other research as well. Let's say if one of the researcher who has done some sort of efficiency in I remember there's one gentleman based in NUST. He did the how to improve the efficiency of fan with the angle of their wings while using the fluid dynamics. So these will be available across all the universities locally and internationally through PERN as well. So what sort of a output and what sort of a code has been written? So this will be really, beneficial for all the researchers who want to take their study to further and go to the production level. And especially the local startup, this is the primarily, if anybody say that we are going to do the LLM deployment, so having said that, after ChatGPT revolution, everybody is going towards a large language model. So in Pakistan, currently, we don't have some sort of ecosystem which supports those startups, especially coming from Ignite, or there are a lot of autonomous bodies who promote the local startups, especially for AI and machine learning. If one of the university startup wants to develop an application while using YOLO code, these cluster will be available for them, so they can do the prototyping. And once they do the prototyping, they will have a minimum market go-to-market gap. I mean, they have already tested, do the bug fixing, and do the pre-production environment. It will be really going to boost the local startup ecosystem, especially like I myself, our companies use LLMs. And currently, let me be very honest, we're not being able to do it because the LLM itself requires very large GPUs, aggregated memory, and it's not available in Amazon Web Services. So even if they are available, they are charging like $5,000 to $10,000 per day. Yes, it's enormous now. So how a startup is going to finance certain money to go and get the services from Amazon or Azure? These services will be available by HEC through ORIC, I suppose, right? They have industry representative who take the startup lead and put them into pre-production environment. Every university will have their own mandate to create certain startups, especially in AI machine learning. These facilities will gonna give them a really big boost to make their application available for the market. And especially then there's a research based like atmosphere research. If I give you one example, I will definitely share because I have worked with the KAUST for like 12 years. I know from the KAUST when it was basically based on container, and I have seen KAUST growing myself. They develop a product where they do simulation of fire, which is happen in jungle. I mean, so they did the simulation by looking at the soil, wind, and type of vegetation, and that application can simulate that this fire which is started in the jungle, it will takes this amount of time to reach there. And they actually sold that application to Australian government, because there are a lot of loss in Australia and in California when this whole fire thing happened. And so you see, by building, having those building block with us, it will gonna give us a really big boost. Anybody from the academia wants to have a research, do the simulation, all the resources will be available for them. So this is the conclusion. Anybody who likes to have question and answer, I'm available for them. Speak now, or you can hold your peace forever. So are we clear on how the how you distinguish between a conventional environment and parallel computing, right? Do you want to ask anything, or anyone from the gentlemen available online?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. I hope you can hear me. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you. This is Roshan. I'm from Learn, the CEO of Learn. It's interesting to listen to this because I have been hearing the setting up of HPC setup at PERN, and this presentation was very useful to understand little more detail. I have some questions related in terms of, so now that it looks like you have been doing it on your own, there are a few other initiatives you have done as a company and so on. So what sort of use cases you see, like in Pakistan or in South Asia? You were mentioning something about Middle East, but in South Asia, what sort of use cases you see? Like the most important one, the heavy one, and so on. Like if you can.
Yeah. So if you give me one example, which is on the top of my head. So in this region that we usually suffer from, like if I give example, we do the atmospheric and the global warming, especially, right? If you know from the India, there's still, I am hearing this news today that in certain city, I think Hyderabad, the rain has not been stopped from 8 days, right? And in 2022, we had a flood which was not predicted earlier, and it took us a devastation of around about $22 billion. I'm not just counting about the loss of the human lives or even for the infrastructure loss. I'm talking about collectively, we lost $22 billion. So now if certain facility, it can predict certain models while using open source, and it can do the early warning, and it can mobilize the local government to do some sort of a preemptive action. So, I mean, this is the main use case that how I see that we can do certain research, especially in these, because this issue has been with not just with Pakistan, I think primarily in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh as well. We face similar monsoon season, so this can be a very big use case for us.
And okay, thank you very much. That's actually useful. And also, I assume you would have done some analysis on the use cases for universities or the research and education community when you propose the combination of CPUs, GPUs, and so on for the infrastructure. Can you? One first question is, in terms of the usage for academic and research community, what sort of use cases you see? And the next one is related to the GPU combination. So how do you see, and like, because I have seen some countries who are focusing more on the CPUs yet, and now they are moving on to GPU. So whether we have enough use cases in our region for the same thing.
So again, it's so the thing which happened with the GPU case, I was explaining from the gentleman from HEC as well. The GPU itself is not selling itself as a hardware commodity. So what NVIDIA and other like AMD is doing, they're making the ecosystem around the artificial intelligence and application development and around the GPUs itself. Let me give, I was giving one example to one of the gentlemen here in HEC, that when I did the project for Saudi meteorology back in 2016, we were using a package for a weather prediction model which called WRF package. It was basically based on Fortran, right? And to run on the GPU, we need to use the compiler to make it run on the CUDA. So what NVIDIA has done, they have totally make the code based on CUDA now. So if if anybody wants to run and use the open source, even the digital twin, the Omniverse is available for the open source as well. And they want to use those ecosystem of the AI, it depends on the GPU now. So it's not just a CPU. A CPU will be used for typical number crunching application, but the AI machine learning, currently we are not being able to get any other alternative besides GPU. So any startup who want to run, as I said, I gave my own example. My startup, we are working on an AI assistant. We are making our own AI assistant, right? So of course there are a lot of academia students who are doing it through their startup ecosystem who wants to do that. And I am to run and do the prototyping of my product for that particular AI assistant, I need to have a certain amount of GPUs. So of course, once this industry connection between the prototyping or pre-production environment for the product, this will be essential building block.
Thank you very much. Actually, that's useful. In fact, we are also working on, I mean, for Learn, we are thinking of setting up something similar, but waiting for a proper funding to start.
So don't worry, we got your back. Will have it, inshallah, very soon.
Thank you very much. It was very useful. Thank you.
So any other questions? Anyone, please. Actually, I cannot be mobile. I usually be running around here and there, but since I have stuck with this one.
So thank you very much. So since you are running a startup, so I was just wondering what kind of issues you have highlighted a lot on the ecosystem of a startup, and from the government perspective, I'm interested to see what do you mean by an ecosystem? What is an ecosystem in which a startup flourishes? And what kind of problems you are facing for all those who are sitting here and they are looking forward to...
Especially in the AI and machine learning. Right,
yes,
right.
Yeah.
So when I bring back idea after 19 years shifting back to Pakistan, we thought about to have a startup which is particularly on, so we don't sell anything else besides AI and machine learning and HPC. I mean, we don't do work on ECC environment. We don't work on mid-tier application. So the challenges that we have faced so far, that first of all, the acquisition of doing the prototyping of my own product, that is the main challenge. So what we did was we went to the local community who was providing like cloud as services. We went to Jazz, we went to PTCL. By the way, if no one knows what we're talking about, Jazz is a local MSP provider based in Pakistan, and same goes to PTCL. They're telco giants based in Pakistan. So I went for them. Okay, I want to do the prototype from my LLM. I want to do the 80 billion parameters with the tokenization. I told them, this is what I need. None of them have it. You can ask for virtual machine with a certain amount of memory. I said, I don't want to work with the memory. I need the GPU memory, aggregated memory. None of them have it. So we eventually buying our own GPU. So if anybody who likes to visit my office, I have a whole pile of GPU system clustered with a 10 gig fabric because of pre-production environment, and we have to put a lot of investment in it. So when I started with the GPU back in 2008 during the COVID days, the one RTX 4090 used to cost like 6-7 lakh. Now, after Chat GPT, the cost is 15 lakh now. So sorry for mentioning my own currency in the international conference. So this is what I have faced, but I have overcome with my own investment. But thing is, I had the investment, but none of the local startup. If you can you imagine a gentleman who has done the master or PhD in artificial intelligence from NERST, from ComSets. None of them will be willing to invest on those startups until unless they put something to put on the table as a pre-production. Okay. Now, for pre-production environment, they have to do a lot of investment. So this is the building block. As I said, if I talk about only Pakistan, there are a lot of companies whose back offices are based in Pakistan. You name it, North Bay or anyone for that matter, right? How they're doing the AI machine learning and LLM or YOLO code, I have no idea. Whenever I met them, they are doing it, but how they are doing it, when I ask them how you're going to do it, they have no answer, because none of the government has done anything about it. Initially, I had a discussion with one of the CBO of a telecom giant. They have a different version of their own because they think the market is where they need to go. Nobody is willing to make the startup investment. So this is the primarily that I have received. I had my own money, so I'm somehow I get away with it. But if you look at the master people who's doing the master or the PhD, they have no resources available for them, and that's really a big irony to hear.
And do you think that the HPC, which the government, which the HEC is going to install, would facilitate?
Yes. So
Right.
this is how what's going to happen, and this is an HEC management we got agreed to certain level as well. Not formally, but at least we have this commitment that what we're going to do is, if any one of the startup who's coming from, let's say, University of Tandawada Malayar, he wants to do make a startup based on YOLO code, object detection, or anything for that matter, we will make the YOLO available for him. We will do the optimization for the GPU, we'll do the optimization for the CUDA level, and we will make them available for them to do and develop their own product. Regardless of the YOLO or RASNAIR, FastNair, and Whisper, or anything for that matter, we will do the deployment. And so there is a very generic misconception as well. GPU is basically programmable. First of all, it's not like it's a coprocessor, right? So we need to program it according to that particular workload that they're going to making as a application. So we will program the GPU to either LLM, Llama, or whichever or they want to do the Chat GPT 4 or 5. We're going to optimize it and we make them available. So that's the mandate of HEC itself, to boost the ecosystem of the local startup while having all the resources available for them.
In your last answer, you mentioned that you met some of the CEOs and they were not willing to do this. What do you think is the future of AI in Pakistan, and how we can, as the financial issue, everyone has their financial issues?
Look, I'm personally myself has seen people who has done tremendously, by the way. I know a gentleman who wasn't even know that he knows CUDA properly. There is no GPU language which is built in our MS or BS level, right? You have to learn as optional. But some of the countries, these are compulsory. I mean, one of my brother who study, he has learned the GPU programming language from the university side as a compulsory. But some of the people are very out of box thinker. The thing that we face, again, having said that we, have a different direction. We see that we investing in big universities or big buildings will gonna make a difference. Until unless you put a brain inside it and get something out of it, the building will remain the building, right? So there are the concept for them, especially for the I've seen people from UT Texla. I have my own employees from Geeky, Nust, and Fast. They have excellent what you call it, the building blocks, very clear building blocks, and they can think out of the box. Either we give them a proper platform to do the. Now, as you said, that why they were not interested. It's basically a normal phenomena. Human psychology is somebody who cannot understand, he will have a fear. So they couldn't understand what I'm saying, so they are not invested. No offense to anybody sitting from there, by the way, right? Any other else? By the way, so as I said, so HPC for the HEC will be a really good platform, not just from the Pakistan, but from the organization which are connected through APAN as well. So if I give you one example, when I was working with the cows, they were the part of the WHO program who used to do the research on the COVID. They were actually part of the consortium from the WHO who did the COVID research. At that time, we didn't have any resources, but inshallah, we soon will have it. So we would like to be part of the consortium. We do the atmospheric research. You do the drug discovery. You do the digital twin research. So once we'll have it, inshallah, very soon. It's almost done. By looking at the vendor, it's almost done. So once we have the system, it will gonna give us a startup where we'll be looking after 4 or 5, because it's eventually we're gonna grow. So we will be the part. I'm not gonna overstate something like we're gonna be similar like a Euro HPC, but a smaller version of Euro HPC, let's say, especially in the countries who's connected through APAN. Anything else from the gentleman sitting online? So I'm going to call I have not remember your name, and I have to apologize for it. How you pronounce your name? I'm going to give the mic to Asante. And please feel free to connect with me for any clarification, for any how we can work together, especially from the APAN side, right? Really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was actually pretty insightful, and thank you very much for taking time to answer all the questions. I think we got a really good overview of not just how it's happening in here, but what can be done and what should be done and what are the possibilities and also the challenges. So it's really great, and then thank you so much for accepting our invitation and coming here. So once again, that's Mr. Jahan Zaib Nazar, the CTO of AI and HPC at Fortmax IT Solutions. So thank you very much for that insightful talk once again. So with that, we are going to wrap up our session on the bird of feathers in HPC AI. So hope you had a fruitful session today. And we are hoping, as I mentioned at the beginning, so we initiated this bird of feathers at APAN58 in Thailand 6 months ago. So after 2 meetings, with the successful continuation of the bird of feathers, this will be converted to a working group at APAN59 in Japan, Yokohama, and we hope to continue the development. So we have our mailing list and our group on this BOF on HPC AI. I'll be sending out another email, and I wish Mr. Nazar would also join us in the mailing group, so that so we can build a discussion on these challenges and how this we can get together everybody in the APAN community to develop HPC AI. So look out for that email, and if you are interested, please join the working group on HPC AI, and let's continue this discussion and see how we can work together and also get the valuable advice and insight from experts like Mr. Nassar, so that we can see what can be done and what should be done. And one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, the necessary support from the policymakers and the administration and all that. So how to do that, how to get the funding, what are the possibilities, how to bridge this gap and all that. So let's come together and try to do that. So please look out for the email, which we'll send it out probably within next week, and hope to see you in future working group activities in HPC AI. Thank you so much for attending, and have a pleasant evening. Thank you so much.